Black women in the UK are 5 times more likely during pregnancy, birth or postnatally to die than their white counterparts.
I had heard about this statistic, but I thought it was a worldwide statistic.
Makes me feel really sad and also really scared, and I'm not even in that category. 5 times more likely to die in childbirth is insane to me. When we live in the Western world with doctors and hospitals and support and care, it was certainly not my experience of childbirth. Now that I know this, I absolutely think something needs to be done. We need to have conversations with Black women. We need to understand their experience. We need to see how we can do better as a society.
Babies born to Black parents are also 67% more likely to die after birth than babies born to white parents. Now, while some women of colour have a slightly higher risk of developing certain conditions such as gestational diabetes and preeclampsia and uterine fibroids as well, which may cause complications down the line, the risk is not significant enough for it to actually cause the disproportionate amount of Black women and women from ethnic minorities that are dying in pregnancy, childbirth and postnatally. One of the more worrying points that's being discussed at the moment is the elements of racial bias and covert racism that is occurring within maternity units and the impact that that may well have on the mortality rate of women from Black, Asian, minority ethnic groups during pregnancy, birth and postnatally.
With my son, I didn't feel like I was listened to at all. I had late diagnosed preeclampsia. So from quite early on in my pregnancy, I would say midway through my pregnancy, I was showing signs of protein in my urine. I was also showing signs of high blood pressure. This wasn't picked up by the midwives. And it wasn't until the end, right at the end of my pregnancy, and I'd swallowed up, you know, like it looked like I'd swallowed a house. It was really bad. I was swollen everywhere. Every single bit of my body was swollen. Midwife said, you've got to go straight to the hospital. This is quite dangerous. I don't feel comfortable you even going home. You just need to, don't even bother about your hospital bag. Ask someone to get that for you. Just go straight to the hospital and let them check you over. I was induced. When the midwife put the hormone inside of me, she said, oh, it's going to take at least 24 hours for the hormones to kick in and for your labour to start. But when I started contracting, I asked the nurse to kind of, okay, can you check me over? I'm starting to feel a little bit of pain. I'm not too sure what this is. And she was like, oh, it's fine. You're just in early stages. Don't worry about it. I felt like I was just being a bother. I was in the toilet. I was vomiting. I was, you know, in a really bad way. And then my waters broke, you know, like amidst all the chaos. And when the midwife did finally check me, she said that I was 8 centimeters gone, and the look of shock on her face, because she, you know, I was basically laboring for hours without any pain relief because I wasn't believed and I wasn't checked over. So I was rushed into the delivery room. There was just a swarm of doctors and midwives all around me. By the time it was time for me to push, I was just so tired I couldn't even push. I actually just couldn't do it. The midwives had to use a forceps, so it was assisted delivery.
Many women of colour have reported that they haven't felt listened to, they haven't had their concerns taken seriously during their pregnancies or during their births as well, which is really sad to hear. I myself have witnessed some kinds of covert racism before I studied midwifery. I was working as a maternity assistant in a hospital in a predominantly white area, and I was chatting to one of my colleagues who was also a maternity assistant. We've been given a reading list of textbooks to get, and one of those textbooks was a really important one actually, and it was to do with culture and diversity and ethnicity in midwifery practice. Now, my colleague turned to me and said, I don't need to get that book because the majority of women who give birth here are white. So to me that actually displayed that she wasn't really interested in looking at how we can care for women who are from minority ethnic backgrounds.
The thing that really upset me was when I was told that I had to have an induction. Went down there and then went to the room, said, oh, you know, I need to sign in. They said, oh, can you wait outside? So I remember just watching the door as people were walking in and, you know, coming back to sit down. And I remember this white lady, she came in. I think about after 30 minutes later, they called her and said, oh, so-and-so, come in now. And I was just like, okay, right. I then went to the desk and I said, you know, I've been waiting here for this amount of time. You know, I saw that this lady, you know, she came in, she was seen pretty quickly. And then they said, oh, we didn't realise you were still waiting, which I thought was really weird because where else am I going to go? The other thing that happened that was actually probably the most upsetting for me and my husband was the fact that when we were about to be discharged, they checked my son, they checked his eyes, they checked everything, and they said, yep, you're good to go. I was about to sign the papers, and then my husband was like, why are his eyes yellow? And they were like, is it? This was literally a couple of minutes after they had checked him, and then they did another check and turns out he had jaundice. And I was fuming because I was like, so you were going to send us home, you had just done the checks, you had said he was all right and you was going to send us home, and now my husband, who isn't an expert, has noticed that his eyes are yellow.
So what can women do to advocate for themselves during their pregnancies and during their births? The first thing, the most important thing is speak up. Don't stay silent. If you feel something isn't right, if you have an instinct about something, say exactly how you feel. Don't feel like you have to be brushed off if you're concerned about something to do with your body, your pregnancy.
The second one is to have an advocate for you. So that's someone that can speak on your behalf if you feel like you cannot speak during your pregnancy and during your labour. So that's someone that's clued up about what's happening in your pregnancy and your labour and can speak up on your behalf when you can't.
And definitely question anything that you feel isn't right by getting a second opinion. Trust your gut as well and ask questions.
Nobody knows you better than you. So if you feel like something really isn't right and somebody is telling you otherwise, you know your pain, so you know what's going on in your body, so trust your gut feelings and again, speak up.
And lastly, do your research about pregnancy, research about birth, use trusted sources. You can go to the NHS website, you can go to nice.org, you can go to the World Health Organization's website as well. There's lots of information out there about birth, so know your rights, know your options, know your choices, and know that you can speak out. So if we can do this together, we can help to reduce the rates of mortality amongst black and brown women.
So those are our 5 recommended steps from the 5 Times More campaign that we give to pregnant women to empower them.
There needs to be a collective community of us, parents, women, coming together to say this is unacceptable. If it is 5 times more likely, we need to understand, and in the very short term, if it is 5 times more likely that a black woman will die in childbirth, they need 5 times more care. That deserves our full attention. That is a huge thing.
Channel Mum are here for you. Whatever stage you're at in your parenting journey, you are not alone. Come and chat to other mums and the team of experts and trained parent supporters in the Channel Mum support group. Check out the link below.